Hello lovelies, it is September 1st, 2022, and I thought I would do an updated garden tour since the last one was March and so much has happened. We had some pretty sizable rain events in August, and they've led to a bit of a jungle kind of effect in our high desert arid climate here. We were very fortunate that we didn't get any like super heavy rains, no flooding all at once, but we did get over the course of about 8 days in August some rains. My ring gauge broke, so it was, last I checked, about 1.5 inches, but I know that it was probably closer to maybe 3 inches. I'm not sure. But anyway, so without further ado, let me bring you on the tour. This garden tour starts where any good garden tour should, with the water source. And we have a pretty decent sized leak going on in our town, in our street right now. So it's actually providing a lot of the water to our food forest, kind of passively. And free to us. However, it is kind of a problem, but we're making the most of it. So there is a leak coming off the street, and it's even too hard to see, but straight line back here where all those 5-gallon buckets are is a percolation or seepage pond, and there are other trenches that go around as well. So the first plant on the tour, is on this line. This is the male pomegranate, and I have sorghum Sudan grass. Okay, so this is a marigold, and behind it we have a little baby mimosa, which can get to be invasive, but I'm going to be managing it. This is a wonderful palm with some more marigolds. Coming over here, we've got some pink zinnias and a baby peach tree for my friends Jeannie and Kyle. And then some Jerusalem artichoke, which are actually in a pretty bad spot, seeing as I'm using gray water. They've not flowered yet, but there's no way I would eat the roots of any plants that I have on this gray water system. This is another peach tree from Jeannie and Kyle, both given to me early last spring. Here is a closer look at the what's going on in the pool, in the pond. I've not seen any frogs or toads or anything yet, but there is some kind of mossy activity going on. Lots of water coming into the system, so lots of life going into the soil here. This right here is an Anna apple. It's got some new growth on it. It's had a lot of access to this water supply. Just got some extreme heats. It's had some extreme heats this year, also getting up to 110 plus. Here is another pomegranate given to us by our neighbor Dorcas, and that one, as well as this one. This is all mostly purslane, some buffalo grass, but mostly purslane, which most would consider a weed. But seeing as it's edible, it's ground cover, it's building soil, I'm going to leave it. Okay, so this is the other pomegranate gifted. This is the female pistachio, which has put on a good at least 2 feet the past month or so. All those lighter green leaves are new growth put on since our big rains. Then coming back to the Anna apple right there. Last year I had this was all 3 sisters, and I decided I wasn't really able to do that this year to get it in, so I put in some Sudan sorghum, and I put it all through there along with some other kind of soil builders. That's another mimosa tree for building up soil. This right here, this beauty, is a mulberry tree, and I'm not sure. I believe it's a female, but I don't know that it's fruiting. It didn't fruit this year, but I'm really hoping that it's not a male. It didn't seem to cause too many allergies in terms of the pollen this spring, so hopefully it's a female, and hopefully it will fruit. I'm not sure though. Same situation with the sorghum Sudan grass. Next over here we have some sunflowers, and then hidden behind that we have a Fuji apple tree, which is also seeing some new growth. It's really feeling pretty sad. Some of the leaves have some browning on them. It's been pretty sun scorched over the summer, but I'm hoping that this mulberry growing over it and keeping plants growing to the south and southwest of the trees, my main produce trees, that they will continue to do okay and grow big and strong. This area here was all sunflowers. I've since cut it back and seeded sunflowers once again, but nothing has come through. This might be a better angle of where that other trench is. So it goes around back, loops up to the street, and then it kind of makes a Y and goes back to the pond. But then it also makes another kind of Y forks right there, and it comes to right here. Now I was planning to grow a tree there initially when I had made these trenches. However, I ended up doing it a little farther to the west so that I could get under the cover of this mulberry tree. This is a bonanza peach, and it put on 2 little peaches this year, but it was looking pretty sad at one point, so I had to pull them off just for the health of the tree. It's hiding behind this marigold plant, but it's so that it kind of provides sun protection and shade. This one just came up this year. This is a volunteer Mexican bird of paradise, and I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more of these in the landscape because we already are, and they're very prolific. And they also make great nitrogen source for chop and drop, and they come back vigorously the next year as well. And also they make beautiful bee forage and other pollinators. So this year we had this little stick was also a peach tree. However, that one seemed to perish a few months ago, maybe a month or 2 ago, and I'm hoping that it comes back, but I'm not really optimistic about it. So just looking over the yard, it's maybe not as green as most places, but it's certainly greener than it has been earlier in this year. Then we come into this area and we have zinnias and butter daisies and sunflowers. This is so incredible to me. This area here is not on drip line. Most of the other areas in this back portion, front portion, are on drip line. This whole flower only gets rainwater, and the seeds came in from last year, some shot across the yard. I'm assuming these were planted and are on drip line. And then we also have a giant amaranth, which I was excited about and planted, and then now have taken some seed from, and now I'm not sure how to prepare it, so I've got to do some more work, some more research on that. This is an apricot from Jeannie and Kyle. Also was about the same size as those other peach trees, which are about 2.5 feet maybe off the ground, and this is nearly my height at 6 feet. So growing very vigorously. This is on the drip line, whereas those are not. However, it's probably getting about the same amount of water. This is just more consistent. Blackberries, thornless blackberries, and down there I've got thorn blackberries, which I'm going to try to remove and send elsewhere. I've got a moringa, I've got some basil, got all kinds of peppers growing in there, lots of marigolds, lots of zinnias that came up from last year that I did not plant. 2 tomato plants right here that are doing very happy, almost as tall as me. This one is. Have it kind of like a tree. Then we have more sunchokes here, which are on drip line, so I'm more able to get in touch with eating it. However, we had one that was bent over. It was, the weight of it was so ridiculously heavy. It was probably, I'd say, 12 feet. This sunchoke had not flowered yet, similarly to these two sunchokes that have not flowered yet, but it had so much vertical growth on it that it snapped in a wind, and I wasn't sure. I just thought, I wasn't sure if it was going to live, and it was kind of eliminating my path, so I decided to cut that off. And then here we have a poplar baby from this poplar. Ooh, thing is like, gotta be probably 20 feet. This is also another poplar baby, which I did a video on. I have not released it, but I pollarded it and I wanted to see if it would come back. And this is a little update on that. It's coming back. It was previously just a stick that just reached nearly that height, and there was one leaf coming off of either side the whole way up, and every time it would be windy it would just fold over basically, so I thought I'd cut it off and try to bring strength through the to the stalk. Okay, so this is kind of a hot mess. This is a new bed that I made this year. It's got green beans, it's got some basil, blue spice basil, it's got amaranth, all kinds of other things, because this bird feeder has been here for years, and so the grasses that are in the seed of the bird feed are coming up also. I'll come over to that desert willow pretty soon. That one's exciting. We got, this is my Granny Smith apple. I've been trying to train the branches to go more horizontally, but my braces came all off. I've got some sunflowers, some morning glories that are taking over and becoming actually kind of a pain. sweet potatoes, comfrey. This is hollyhocks. I've got marigolds. This is asparagus or maybe dill. I don't even know. Here are some more. I don't know that I do have any flowering, but some more birds of paradise, Mexican bird of paradise. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. This I don't talk about, but we had cleared this all to put in a basketball court right here, right in like a square, right in there, and it all came back vigorously because we have not been able to do that yet. This one is a pink lady apple tree, and it's a little bit sad, but it's coming back. These rains really brought back life to these poor little trees. Tomato, more comfrey, and then we've got a sunflower that is trying to tip over a bunch of weeds. Beautiful sunflower. Okay, so this here is the trellis that Nick built last year, and we had probably 4 bunches of grapes on there, and they were pretty good. Most of the 2 of the bunches were mostly eaten by yellow jackets. And we have here, we've got 2, come on, focus, 2 cherry tomato plants that are thriving. This one is probably 5.5 feet tall. Then this desert willow here, champion, was my stepdad Belle was trying to convince me to tear it down when we first moved here to plant a more productive tree, but now she's coming in. She's happy. She's got flowers. She's got seed pods with green leaves. I think she'll be okay after all. This is a busted and fallen sunflower. Still doing some work for the pollinators. Some of the pollinators that are the birds that are a little lower can have access to it. If you've seen any of my other videos, you might have seen that I had strawberries throughout this whole bed. It kind of got demolished by doves. They're picking in there trying to get worms and whatchamacallit, pill bugs, roly-polies. There's still a couple strawberries coming on. They're all spreading. Some onions. But most of this area here is sunflower and Mexican bird of paradise. And I'll cut a lot of this back closer to fall for chop and drop to provide soil for whatever is planted in here for next year. Some green beans, an ash tree. Right in here, this is probably 8 feet tall of moringa, two moringa trees that came back from roots that I had in the greenhouse last year. Behind that there is a potted fig, a grapevine, another desert willow, and then another grape. And we were able to get probably 4 bunches off this grape also. Some of the best tasting grapes that I've ever had. This area, I need to weed it, but didn't grow diddly squat. I have it on a drip line and nothing wants to grow there. That soil needs to be covered, needs to be mulched, just needs some more life brought back to it. This is one of our brown turkey figs that we were gifted this spring from the Darlins. And this is the third fig on it. It's not quite ready to pick, but turns out figs are not exactly my favorite. However, it did have a nice kind of honey, subtle honey flavor to it. We're building this up for fall gardening, putting some chop and drop in there, some more Sudan grass. I just planted this rosemary about 2 months ago. It's doing really well in here. We have not had luck with transplanting rosemary before, and beside it is a volunteer potato. This one is the Violetta de Bordeaux fig tree. It has not yet really produced any figs, but it is starting to. There's a couple on here. There's one right there, one right there. There were some others. I tried to pull them off, but then I remembered that it has kind of like a latex. Well, I didn't remember before that. I remembered as I'm pulling the fruit off, the fruit set, that it started dripping this latex stuff. So I've got to come back through here, put some compost down, weed it, remulch it, and do all that. This area over here has kind of been overrun with these butter daisies. Like, this has not even been irrigated at all. This is just it's kind of taking over, but they're so beautiful. Ideally, I'd love to have them out of this bed, and for this to be more of a production zone. Right now it has asparagus in there, there's some carrots in there, some tomatoes that are looking pretty sad, not getting enough sunlight, some sweet potato, which is probably also not getting enough sunlight. This volunteer mango from the compost just came up in that pot, fortunately. And then this beauty, probably 25-30 feet tall, is a white mulberry tree, and it did start producing some fruit earlier this summer, probably I think June maybe. It had maybe 30 fruit on it, which is not a lot, but it's a good start. Hopefully next year we'll have more. This buggy area over here, which the spiders have been loving, is my compost pile. And so I'll go into that in more detail in another video. But yeah. So what started out as essentially a barren landscape, there were a few trees here when we moved here 2 years ago, is now a bit of an overrun jungle. We've planted a lot, but also a lot has planted us. That's so cheesy. But yeah, so it's a fair amount of maintenance needs to be done. However, we don't really do much to maintain it. There's daily watering. My husband does most of the watering out front here. Most of it is on gray water. We do use the occasional city water when it's been like a low laundry kind of week. When we now have this leak in the street, which is providing pretty passively to some of these trees, so most of the watering that takes place here is on this east side of the front yard. Most of the other watering is on the drip line in the kind of high production area. We have those 2 fig trees, and then that in-between space I water daily, and then that back space that has been overrun by the butter daisies is also watered just to keep those asparagus alive, and there are some other production plants in there that are kind of hiding amongst the other wild flowers. And so hopefully next year, I said this last year, hopefully next year I'll get better about weeding, and I'm hoping that the plants will kind of take over that. The perennial plants will really come into their own, and they'll provide mulch to that area so the weeds don't really see it as being a place that they can live very easily. I forgot a bunch of other plants in there too. There's goji berries, there's corn, there's lots of mint, so much mint. But yeah, hopefully field raspberries. I have this whole area that I had blocked off for raspberries, and then this year they came in the spring, and there were so many, and I just never covered them with shade cloth, and they all passed. So hopefully the roots are still in there and they come back next year, and if they do, I'm going to hopefully be able to transplant them somewhere where it's not so sunny, and somewhere where they will provide us with some raspberries, because we did not get any raspberries this year. We did, however, get so many grapes. We got a lot of grapes, we got a lot of herbs, we got some potatoes earlier in the spring, we got lots of strawberries, some blackberries, and nothing really producing out here yet. A lot of peppers. What else? Oh, so many tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. My daughter loves them. I, however, cannot really stand them very much. Let's see, what else? So much moringa. Like, if I could eat moringa more often, more frequently, if I could stomach it, I would just be in moringa heaven. I'm hoping to start with the fall garden pretty soon. I got some green beans this last week, but those were my first green beans. Last year I was living in green beans. I had probably 20 a day throughout the summer, and this year I've had not even 20. So we've got to do more to amend the soil over this fall winter period. I'm kind of upping my compost, ramping up my compost production, and then just continuing to build the soil. And so hopefully over time those things will come back, and next year, I think part of it too was I was using saved seed from last year instead of purchased seed, and I think I need to buy seed again, find something that I love, and try it all over again. Maybe I'm not storing my seed very properly. I think that may be part of it. I think that has a big part of the germination, lack of germination, is that my seed storing system needs to change over this next year too. Right now it's all in this box. It's really pretty well organized. It's just not the best climate conditions for seeds to be maintained. I think that's it for today though. It was a lot of growth has happened, and last video I did, everything was dormant. Last year everything has grown from then or died. So it's just it's kind of a crapshoot. Some of the trees that I was really excited about, I had some peach trees that died. I had some almond trees that I planted this spring that may have died. One of them definitely is goner, and the other is still doing the scratch test, still green. However, it's not providing any kind of leaf. It's not leafing out at all. The gray water system is going. It is in full effect. So, what we do to water these plants up here when the gray water is going, either we will take this hose and place it towards the plants that need to be watered, or we will put it from the gray water system into buckets and then water it later in the evening so that it's a little cooler.
Thanks for watching.